Hi Mercy folks, it has been a while since I have done a talking video, and today I'm very happy to talk about what I have been asked for a while by quite a number of different artists. We are going to talk about how to close up a project that you have done, and now it's time to submit the reports to the funding agencies. But first of all, I would like to remind you all that the playlist about artistic organization is linked above, because I have made a ton of videos about how to start organizing your projects from scratch, how to write up a grant application, how to write up a budget, how to organize a team, things about networking, things about marketing. Feel free to check it out, and I hope it's going to be helpful to you. And don't forget to hit thumbs up for this video if this information is going to be useful, and subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. But now let's go and discuss what exactly do you do when you have to wrap up your project that you have just successfully created. The first thing is to not forget to refer to people by their names. So when you are writing your cover letter to submit to the organization, don't forget to write dear Mr. and Mrs. or Dr. X, Y, and Z. And on the second line, you may write dear ladies and gentlemen. So sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, if you are writing in German, as I happen to be doing during the last few years. The next thing that's crucial to do is to check the requirement of the grant application description that you have submitted in the beginning. Take a look at what has to be included in your final report and make sure to not leave anything out. Some of the things that might need to be included are the following. Look at your initial project file that you have sent when applying. Reply to the questions such as who, what, where, when, and how it was executed. Reply to the questions such as who, what, where, when, and how your project was executed. Get back to your initial project goals and describe how they were fulfilled. Talk about the audience's feedback, and hopefully you exchanged with your audience after your event. Reinstate why the project was needed here and now, and why the support from this funding organization was crucial. Thank your supporter for the funding once again. Keep track of the numbers, because the numbers are everything. The numbers really matter. Your audience members, your views on YouTube, if the project was presented online, for example, it all needs to be included in the final report. You might even be asked to break down your audience into the demographic groups, for example, by the age, gender, and or ethnicity. So it's a really great idea during your project to have a special person from your team, one of your friends or family members, who would be keeping track of the audience, because that person could count the people, count the visitors, the listeners, viewers, and also to collect their data if this is needed. For example, when they sign up, when they come in, buy tickets, whatever, ask them to fill out a form stating what their age group is, stating, for example, what their ethnicity is, things like that, if this is required by the funding agency. Now, I would like to remind you all that I provide individual consultations about organizing artistic projects. And if you're interested, feel free to click on the link to the JOT form in the description below, and I'll be happy to take a look at your project descriptions, at your budgets, and go through your grant applications with you, especially if this is the first time or one of the first times for you applying for project support. So this is an individually tailored consultation. We will be on Zoom together, and I will personally be reviewing all the details about your own project. Now, moving on to the next point. The budget must match, always. Once again, check out the video I made about the budget. It's linked right here above. But now let's review certain tips and tricks that I'm happy to share here from my personal experience organizing artistic projects. Your budget must match to zero, so your expenses and your income has to be the same number. Even if you got less money, even if you had more expenses. There are two ways to get around this situation. The first one is including a flexible field, for example, your own pay. That can be adjusted easily in case there is a need to do so, if your project income and expenses don't match precisely. And the second one is if there is a negative balance, the only way would be to invest your own funding, your personal money into the project, because if really there are more expenses and you have to pay your team, you have to pay for the rent, you have to pay for documentation, post-production, advertisement, whatnot, then of course there's no other way but you have to invest into your project. And you will need to show that, of course. For the funding agencies, a tip that can of course be written off for your tax expenses if you are self-employed. And creating your own projects usually means that you are self-employed indeed, at least partially. Now, a few more things regarding expenses. Keep in mind that there might be some additional taxes. For example, in the US, there might be a state tax for someone's services. In Europe, in EU, it's called VAT. It can be around 20% give or take. So make sure you allocate some additional funding. Make sure you keep that in mind, that you might need to pay someone who is doing labor for you, someone you hire, extra funding, something like 20% from the amount you're paying them. So add that amount up if they are registered as a company, for example. You always need to check all these things with the people you are hiring, if they are registered as a company, if they're self-employed, under which terms and conditions you are going to be working with them financially. It's very, very important. If you're presenting contemporary music, let's say, make sure to check out the copyright laws in your country. There are copyright agencies in most of the countries, in each country, maybe. You have to check out your own country, of course, because the pieces that are under the copyright are supposed to have fees. So you, as an organizer, are supposed to pay a certain fee to this organization, and a percentage goes to the composer who has composed this music if the piece is still under the copyright. So if it's contemporary music, if the composer is still living, of course, it's still going to be under the copyright, or it's going to go to the estate or the organization that owns the copyright of the pieces by this composer if the composer is no longer alive. But please make sure to check this. It's very important, because otherwise you would be breaking the law, and this is what you do not want. A disclaimer: for YouTube, things might work in a different way. So if you're publishing something online, it might be a different story. If it's a live performance, you need to contact the copyright organization in your country, and it's easy to find online. So don't forget to do that. It's very important, and include an approximate amount in your budget as well. It's not that much usually. It has to be a percentage from your projected earnings. But of course, after you are done with the performance, you submit your budget, all your financial information about the project, and they do determine how much to bill you precisely, and they send you the bill for that. That's how it usually works for me. So one thing to keep in mind if you are performing contemporary music or organizing a performance of contemporary music by someone else. Of course, do keep all the receipts from all the transactions for your records forever, because you might need these during any point of time, not only for your report, but also for your tax purposes, because if you are self-employed, you might need to write these off. If in your country, grants for cultural projects, for art projects, are something that you have to submit into your tax return. So again, keep all the receipts everything, scan them, have them in your folders, nicely organized for each project. But this is not something to lose, and this is something to sort, and this is something to keep for your archives, for your records, forever. Currency exchange. This is one of my favorites, absolutely favorites. If you're doing any project with anyone involved internationally, okay, EU maybe not really, because it's all in euro, but otherwise there is a lot of fun. So your banks have to provide you with both currencies, and this will come in handy for the reports, because the rates are fluctuating always, and it's not easy to determine the exact exchange rate if you need precise information. So it's great to work with multi-currency banks, because they will show you both versions. So virtual banks such as Wise and Revolut have that. If you need to send money internationally and convert your transfers to a different currency, this is something to take a look at. And I do have my Wise link to create an account and get a promo. If you still don't have your Wise account or Revolut account, check it out in the description below. The next point is links and documentation. Always make sure to include your videos, your trailers, your exhibition reels, your performance photos, gatherings, everything. If you have photos, you must have photos. You should include these in your PDF report. Maybe just a few, maybe a nice collage, maybe half a page, but to show that the event has happened, that there were people, that there are beautifully looking artists and all these things. It always adds to the story. You know, a nice visual is always a good idea. Of course, don't send 120 photos, but if you send several, that would be great. Okay, are you still there? Just a couple more things. Don't forget to include the logos. All the logos from all your funding agencies have to be displayed on your posters and flyers and programs. So when you send them these with your reports, they have to see that you included the logos. Of course, these have to be included before your events. But just as a reminder, when you'll be sending your flyers and your media, the logos have to be there. And usually they have quite strict rules about which logo files you can download, how to place them. For example, no logo should be smaller than any other logo or something like that. So please do read those rules carefully and don't break them. So you should always have the logos of your funding agencies on your printed media. The last but not least, future plans. It's always a good idea to include a sentence or two about your future projects and endeavors, because the funding agencies have to see that you will continue developing as an artist, as a human being, and they have invested into a good cause. And also maybe you sort of give them a hint that you might be applying for their support once again. So in the meantime, I wish you best of luck filing your reports. Probably this video comes in handy before the end of the year. Maybe some of us are really busy filing our reports right now. And I hope that you learned something useful that you can apply to your next report. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, watch other videos on organizing your artistic projects. Don't forget about the consultation offer. The link is in the description below. I'm looking forward to receiving your project descriptions, your budgets, your grant applications, and going over these with you directly on Zoom. And now I wish you to have very great Christmas celebration times with your friends and family. Enjoy these quieter days. I hope they are quieter for you, or maybe they're very loud and festive. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.